whole point of the community was the early adopters to give us feedback. Well, then we started putting some other people in it. And then Eric was like, hey, how about if what we did was during our checkout flow, instead of like just dropping them off a hook and trying to loop them back on email, why don't we drop them into the community? It's like, oh, that's pretty cool. We did that. And the community became a part of people's lives. And like when people are having conversations in your community that are nothing to do with the brand itself, you've made it. Like you are now entrenched in their lives and you are the conduit to bring this ecosystem together. That's how we were able to maintain so much momentum. Businesses are vehicles, businesses are vessels. Businesses should not be your identity. Like no one starts a business to say, I want to work for the rest of my life. Usually they start a business because there's something that they want to achieve, and that is disassociated from solving hard problems in a business.
So Ryan, you couldn't hack the brand side of it, huh? You had to go over and start a talent agency. What are you doing,
bro?
Talent
you know
agency?
What they say? They say, what is it, like if you can't do it, teach it, or if you can't build it, teach it.
Something like that. I think it's those who can't do, teach. Those who can't teach Jim, I think is the saying.
I will tell you, this is going to be I don't know if we're going to be I have never slept better in my entire life. And here's what's going to be an interesting topic of all of this is like, I'm making more money now than I was with Hunt a Killer, because Hunt a Killer lost money for like 6 or 7 years. So
Hunt a Killer is putting up some revenue numbers.
Hunt a Killer is oh man, like to me, Hunt a Killer is a classic case study in kind of what not to do. And I'm sure we'll dig into that. But yes, to your point, Brian, I couldn't hack it in consumer, and so
you do look good though, John. He doesn't.
This is
look
the
good.
best you look too.
This is 8.5 hours of sleep last night. That's what this is.
And you probably weren't getting that.
No, man, dude. Consumer it's waking up every morning, you get out of bed and you're like, man, what a great day. And you lean back and stretch out and someone just runs up to you and just punches you as hard as possible in the like, that is consumer product in some sort of weird metaphor.
Yeah. All right. Well, before we get too far down the actual trail, let's kick things off here. All right. So we're going to go live in 3, 2, and 1. Welcome to the ASOM Pod, where we talk a lot. E-com is the path that we walk a lot. From 4 point of views when we're talking shop. Amir from the agency and Jimmy from SAS. John has an Android, but give him a pass, cause he's an operator building brands like a carpenter. And that's Brian, he is the marketer. Like I said, this the ASOM Pod, where we talk a lot. E-com is the path that we walk a lot. From 4 point of views when we're talking shop. Welcome back. This is the very first ASOM Pod remote episode where we interview some kick-ass founders, some kick-ass folks in the e-com space, and really are able to have on a lot of people like Ryan remotely that we weren't able to in person. So joining us today is Ryan Hogan, the founder of Hunt a Killer. And now, like we've talked about in the banter, he has left the brand side of it and is the co-founder and CEO of Talent Harbor. Also I don't want to get this wrong here, Rye. You are a officer in charge. What does that mean for the U.S. Navy Reserve? I just want to make sure I'm clear here on that.
Thank goodness. We got to be proper. I had commanding officer on that because that's what my order state, but then my boss was like, dude, you're just an OIC. So basically, I lead a unit. I'm an officer in the U.S. Navy, and I've got about 110-ish sailors under my command out of Spokane, Washington.
Love that. Okay. All right. Well, that clarifies that there. So, Ryan, we have Ryan joining us here, and obviously you get me here, Bryan MacDonald, director of e-commerce at Amidst Pride. As Jimmy Kim always says, the most expensive raw pet food in the world. Now Ryan has his dog on it as well, and then we have John Roman. John Roman with BattlBox, the #1 subscription for the outdoor and survival space here in the U.S. Also has a Netflix series. No big deal. We're not going to toot his horn too much on that. And obviously is the Android-loving survival king. So, Ryan, we're really fired up to have you on. I think, obviously, we have a relationship, right? John's known you for the longest. And
how long have we known each other?
Dude, it's like 16, 17?
I was going to say 16, 17. I remember sub in New Orleans We obviously were already friends. We saw each other. We were like, hey, holy cow, I haven't seen you in about a minute. Yeah.
I
9
listen.
years?
I thought you were about to get into other stories
Oh,
in
we
New
have some
Orleans.
stories.
You know what? Well, listen. We met in New Orleans. It was amazing. We had a great time. And back to you, Brian.
Yeah, no, I
Great-
mean,
Great stories in New Orleans, great stories in New York.
New
we
Orleans,
have-
New York, Vegas, they never really turn out to be great stories, though.
Great
They were at the
experiences.
time. But anyways,
Great stories.
Ryan,
Today we're
fill us
Yeah,
in here.
go ahead.
Let's walk back a little bit. So, obviously, the story of Hunt a Killer is one for the history books, and I wanna give you the floor here. Just sort of explain for folks that may not be familiar with it. I'm assuming a lot of are, but talk through Hunt a Killer, when you started it, and really how the idea came to light for that.
Yeah. So, lifelong entrepreneur, and what I've realized throughout my entire life is like entrepreneurship is just a journey. Like I can draw a straight line from where I'm at today all the way back to third grade selling creepy crawlers in Mrs. Price's class, and like everything was constantly building on itself. How did Hunt a Killer come up? Well, that's because I had a failed brand called Run For Your Lives, and Run For Your Lives was the first ever zombie infested 5K obstacle course race. So think back to like 2010, 2011. You had Warrior Dash, Spartan Race, Tough Mudder. Those were the big three. For some reason, like every brand that I've been a part of has been up there, but nobody talks about it. So we just need to fire more PR people. But we were number 3 in 2012, and it was incredible. What wasn't incredible is, unlike zombies, this event just died. I mean, like overnight, demand stopped, and this whole idea of like in over your skis, like we had sold events for almost all of 2013. We got halfway through the year, we ran out of cash, and it was brutal. Like, man, brutal. And then you go to like the online reviews, and people are like, "Oh, the founders like freaking just put all the ticket sales in their pockets and like walked out in the middle of the night." No, dude, like I went personally bankrupt. Like nobody made out there. Like our vendors lost, I lost, my partner went bankrupt. Like it was terrible. And maintaining a TSCI clearance, by the way, through bankruptcy is challenging. So go ahead.
No, I didn't even think about that. That's a whole nother variable.
A whole nother thing. Like it almost destroyed my military career. There was a lot that happened because of that. But that event came up because of a t-shirt business, another failure where like I had a garage full of t-shirts and couldn't figure out a way to sell them. So we started an event. Then we gave or sold the t-shirts to the event company. We cleared our inventory that way. And that's just been kind of the journey. And so Hunt a Killer started because 3 years after Run For Your Lives went bankrupt, I was having trouble finding product market fit, which, by the way, hands down is the hardest thing to do in any startup. Like finding product market fit is the absolute hardest thing to do. It's usually after product market fit that I screw everything up. So we'll I'm sure get into that as well. But I had a business mentor come to me and he was like, "Hey, why are you screwing around in SaaS and all these other businesses? You came out of the experiential world." I was like, "Great point." So I called Derek, who was my co-founder in Run For Your Lives, childhood friend, love him to death. And I was like, let's do it again. And so Hunt a Killer was like literally a live event. And that's how it started. We went to the same campground that we had our first Run For Your Lives event at. And the whole concept was you had escape rooms, you had immersive theater, and obstacle races were still kind of around in 16. And that was it, man. It was, it started out as a live event.
So you wanted Hunt a Killer to sort of replicate the past failure, and you never saw it turning into the CPG product that it did.
Yeah, what a free impression.
I don't think he even meant that, but it's a hilarious. You're like, you just wanted this one to fail, just like the last one. Yeah. Sort of.
No. I mean, yeah. Right now you're 0 for 3, really, right?
Right. That's it. I like maybe a 0.5 to 3. Anyhow, yeah, it's like, but that's what we knew, right? Like we knew the experiential space, we knew the event space, we knew how to sell and market. And here's the other thing is, when I look for businesses, especially in the consumer space, what I look for is, can the business cash flow itself? And events, you pre-sell tickets. Subscriptions, you pre-sell subscriptions. I heard something about Richard Branson last week where when he started the airline, there was very little cash up front because he put the Boeing lease on and he started selling plane tickets before he ever took possession of the plane. there is something beautiful about consumer products, consumer services, where you get paid for the services that you have not yet provided, because then you don't have to go raise a whole bunch of money. So, yeah, I was not trying to replicate it, but we eventually pivoted because only 600 people showed up. We couldn't have 1,000 people standing around a fake crime scene, so we pivoted in subscription. It got crazy, man.
So
I can send you stories.
how did that happen? Like, how do you go from that to, hey, what if we turn this into just a consumer subscription where we're sending it in the mail? Like, how?
Sales tax stress, let Kintsugi slide. AI in your pocket, now enjoy the ride. 9 hours saved, that's time back in play. No tax guy needed, AI clears the way. Errors cut deep, not with this plan. 98.3%, my man. Click once, integrate, white glove, you'll see. Mention awesome, get 3 months for free. Sales tax headaches? Kintsugi AI turns tax chaos into something beautiful. The smart AI monitors, files, and optimizes your sales taxes automatically, saving customers 9 hours monthly while cutting errors by 98.3%. No expensive tax guy needed here. One-click integrations and white glove support. Mention awesome for 3 months free at trykintsugi.com.
You know what's funny about this is like, I've pitched a lot of investors, I've told a lot of stories, and what's always interesting about those stories is like, you always position the story that like you knew all along. And like, even how I pitched Talent Harbor today, it's like we knew all along, and these are all the things. And so like my natural response to that would have been, oh, well, we saw this thing, we couldn't scale it, and so we said, how do we take this experience and deliver it to doorsteps? And I would say that's half the truth. Like, the other half of the truth is there were subscription boxes that existed. There was the Mysterious Experience Company, and that wasn't a subscription, but it was like a 3-part mystery delivery. So we looked at that. There was and there was one more. So there was only 2 in market at that time. And so we looked at that, and we looked at the product market fit that we had found with the event, and we just said, hey, we can do it better than all these guys.
Yeah,
and then of course we were the first and only one to ever do it.
And what year was this? Let's go back in time. This is 2013?
No, man, 2017, I think.
2017.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so we had a couple year gap there in between Hunt to Killer and then the other event.
I was still active duty, so yeah, I went out to San Diego and drove ships for 4 years and just kind of dabbled in stuff.
Wow, interesting.
So you see that you can replicate and do a better job than what's on the market currently with the direct to consumer piece. So instant success, like you launch, you throw some ads up, and it's just go time.
Yeah, man. I mean, that kind of is legitimate. Like, I look at what Hunt to Kill, and because I'm always comparing, right? Like, I can't help myself. And so I look back at some of the growth and some of the finances of Hunt to Killer, and I try and compare it to like Talent Harbor or other things that I'm dabbling in. And I'm like, I'll be able to beat that. Dude, in January, it was like, so here's how it went. We had our first event October 21st of 2017. And we knew over the summer, we kind of knew that we were going to get into the subscription box game. And so we had already pre-sold boxes. One of the biggest hack in consumer products is, before you write a business plan or go purchase inventory or go do anything, like, go put up a website and see if people will take out their hard-earned money via a credit card, put it into your system, and actually pay for a product. Because that's the ultimate test. There's a whole bunch of like, oh, well, if I go collect emails and then I have this launch and a certain percentage here, a certain percent. No, launch it, pretend like you got it, and see if people actually buy it. And so we already had like,
point.
Yeah. And that's how I'd still do it today. And so we had 30 subscriptions since we had kind of come up with the idea. And here's the crazy part is we had that website hidden. So somehow people were finding it and they were telling their friends, and what's 30 people? Not many, but that was enough for us to be like, there's something here. So we knew right after that event that we were going to get in the subscription box game. And that's the crazy part, dude. So like, the other thing here is we went with one of the ticketing companies and we raised money. So we said, hey, we'll come to your ticketing platform if you give us $60,000. So they gave us $60,000 loan. We took that loan, invested in the subscription box, never had another event, paid that loan back, and said thanks for your belief in something that never actually happened.
Wow.
But yeah, man, when I look at the finances, 0 to 300,000 MRR within the first 4 months, and like I look at that and I'm still trying to replicate.
Yeah, that's insane.
Now I remember, and I don't know if this came later, when you launched initially. I used to love and talk about your onboarding flow, where you would go to this site, you couldn't just sign up, you basically had to join a waiting list, and then you would get this email campaign series that basically said, hey, you're in the waiting list, and then all of a sudden, magically, I was approved and I could actually give you money because you wouldn't let me off the jump. And I thought it was genius. Did you launch with that, or was that like a later stage hack?
It was very quick after, but I don't think we launched with that.
Okay.
But we're talking within the first month or two. I don't know. Eric, everywhere I go, Eric's name, I connected with Eric yesterday. I introduced somebody, Eric. Everywhere I go, Eric Carlson and Sweatpants Agency, he comes up.
He came up today with Brian and I on a call randomly too.
And he's going to come up right here. Like, how did Hunt a Killer grow so fast in the early days? It's because literally Eric and I were on the phone every day until 2 a.m. And so like when we talk about that onboarding funnel, like I don't know if it was him or I'll give him credit for it, but like that's him and I jamming every single day trying to test. And here's the thing is like, they're called micro commitments. And so the whole idea or premise or theory here is that once somebody takes a commitment, they naturally have skin in the game. And so they want to take another commitment. And the psychology behind that is even in a type form. So we started with a type form, and it's even in how you organize the questions. But basically, our thought process was like, if we could get you through the type form, you had committed enough of your time and we had communicated enough of the value proposition for us to be able to convert you at the end of the funnel. And what's crazy about that, so think about that funnel, is like you couldn't purchase right out. So all this
I could not give you money. Yeah.
Right. So like think of all the gurus out there. Oh, it's how many actions they take. And you need to reduce the amount of actions through the checkout flow. That's not the case at all.
Do the opposite.
We wouldn't even let you check out. So after you did all those micro commitments, we said, thanks, we'll get back to you.
Yeah. You're on the waiting list. Congrats.
Yeah. And that's like, that didn't work forever, but that worked for quite a bit.
Yeah, and once you create that hype too, like I think John, I was mentioning this in our Slack like a week or two ago. One of my buddies, and John, I think you know people that just went to the Savannah Bananas game. They created all this hype over the past 36 months, really 24 months, and they have that wait list now. But I don't know if it's truly a 4-year wait list or that's, the marketing sort of guru behind what they're, successful at. Same thing. You go to purchase on their website. It's like, hey, good luck. Here's an estimated wait time. And then they surprise and delight you, hey, so-and-so dropped off the list. You can get your tickets early. So similar concept there. And that's like, once you have the hype built around it, it's gold.
That's like, and the other thing is like, how do you maintain that hype? So here's one thing that we did by accident. Oh, and by the way, Brian, like kudos to you. I recently went through your checkout flow and I was super impressed by the whole thing. Like, I think the ability to like, it felt like your brand was getting to know my pet, my animal. And there was like a certain like psychological dynamic that's happening. So real quick to you, like kudos on that flow. The way that we were able to maintain hype over that time started by accident. And of course, like in retrospect, we started a community and we were at the front runners of like building and nurturing these communities. It started by accident. Because we were doing something that had never been done before, we needed feedback. Like when we sent someone just paper and clues, like we needed people to tell us like, hey, this is broken. This is stupid. This doesn't work. Like we hate this aspect of it. So we started this community and started with 20 people. And the whole point of the community was the early adopters to give us feedback. Well, then we started putting some other people in it. And then Eric was like, hey, how about if what we did was during our checkout flow, instead of like just dropping them off a hook and trying to loop them back on email, why don't we drop them into the community? It's like, oh, that's pretty cool. We did that. and the community became a part of people's lives. And like when people are having conversations in your community that are nothing to do with the brand itself, you've made it. Like you are now entrenched in their lives, and you are the conduit to bring this ecosystem together. That's how we were able to maintain so much momentum.
Yo, OmniSend is back with some new swag. AI is now in the mix. Yeah, you heard that. Smarter and better. Let AI decide. Personalize every line. Take your brand worldwide. How about 24/7 support? MJ of basketball, but email to sports. So sit back, relax, watch the magic unfold. Let the folks at OmniSend get your story told. Tired of staring at blank pages? OmniSend AI doesn't hit you with writer's block. Their new AI writes your emails, personalizes content, and builds customer segments instantly. Just whisper who it's for, and AI figures out the rest. Join 125,000 users already winning with OmniSend's email, SMS, and push notifications. Backed by 24/7 amazing support, visit omnisend.com today.
So initially, where did the community live? Like, what was it, a platform or?
Facebook. And it's still, and here's the thing is like, everybody's all like today, for instance, everybody's all about taking communities offline. And I got this app that was built, and it's really like it's like an infrastructure, but it's a separate community. What we found, and what I'll live and die by, is like, put your product, put your communities, put all of these things where your people already are. Like, all of our customers were already on Facebook. So why are we going to try and take them out of Facebook and put them in some sort of separate community? We want every time they log on 10 times a day, the first thing for them to see is some sort of notification from us. And the same was true for the product. Like, we got, in the early days, we were like, we're direct to consumer. This is our business. Direct to consumer is not a business. It's a sales channel, for one. And two, like, you want your product to be places where people already are.
Such a good point. And Facebook still, I think, is so undervalued because everyone thinks everyone left everywhere else. And where's all the money? All your, Gen X's and boomers still.
Yeah. Why is everybody still advertising predominantly majority spend?
Such a big opportunity on Facebook. Yeah, it's so true. All right. So Ryan, we're at, like, let's just call this 2018, right? We're in right now, roughly year 2018 right now in the story.
Yep.
Okay.
We're first half.
So what was the first, aha moment where, hey, things are really starting to pick up here. We're cranking. We're cranking to the point where now we want to start getting into retail. Was that the point in which you've sort of squeezed all the juice you thought direct to consumer? And like, what was the moment where you guys were like, hey, we got to get into retail?
Like, I feel like I'm coming on talking too much. I was so stupid for so long. And when we started this thing, we lived up to the hype. Like, the whole thing was direct to consumer is a business. And like, we were like, we're a direct consumer business. And then we even got lost in this idea of like, hey, what kind of business are you? We're the first ever experiential, immersive experience detected, like all these crazy things. You know what we were? We were a game company. And it took us going to the toy fair in 2020 to be like, oh, like, these are our competitors and this is who's going to buy us. And like, do we do games very well? Yeah. But does that mean we've created a category of our own that's never existed before? No. Like, every game out there is trying to immerse you inside of the experience. We just happen to do it better. And so, like, for us, because we were so trapped in this direct consumer is the only way, we avoided Amazon. We avoided retail. We avoided all of these things because I was incredibly closed-minded into, like, direct consumer was the business. Retail is the enemy. They take your margin and they never look back.
We had multiple discussions back in the late teens. Neither of us viewed D2C as what it is, which is, we're all in agreement. It's just a sales channel. But back then, you and I had multiple discussions. Like, no, it's a business. We were wrong, but yeah, because you still haven't figured out retail fully. But I mean, you were arguably was retail a post-pandemic thing, or
it was during. So one of the reasons we opened up our minds is because we started looking at subscription box and they were dropping like flies. And so in like 2017, 2018, so 2018, we were probably 12 million. 2019, we hit 25 million. And we were still in this closed mindset, but we started seeing, like, I'll just name one brand because we're all too familiar with all the brands out there, but I'll just say Birchbox. But there were 10 more the size of Birchbox that were like on the brink of failure or going through bankruptcy. And so we were like, wait a minute, like what's all these companies that came before us that scaled to the moon are now going bankrupt? Like what's happening over here? And the reality is, it doesn't matter what business you're in. If you are going through the hyper growth and you're investing everything back into it, eventually your bullseye is going to get wider and your cost to acquire that customer is going to become more expensive. And so take out iOS 14.5, take out all that crazy. Just think in the terms of like, your cost to acquire a customer is always going to increase. And at a certain point, the cost to acquire a customer is going to exceed the profitability of the business. Now, we got torn up by other things like iOS 14.5. But just if you were to think that that is true, that your cost is going to go up, then you have to think through diversification. So that's what opened up our minds, was the graveyard of direct consumer brands that were just like dropping left and right. And so we said, hey, we've got something that can sit on retail shelves. At that point, we had probably done, I don't know, about 50-ish million in business. We had probably invested 25%. So we've invested like 10 million into advertising. And we were like, we've got a real shot to show up to the toy fair with something that could sit neatly on retail shelves and maybe get it picked up. So it was, you said before or after the pandemic, it was literally February of 2020. It was 2 weeks before they turned the Javits Center into a field hospital. If the New York Toy Fair would have been 3 weeks later, Hunt a Killer would have bankrupted at the end of 2020. Like everything would have been over. It's so crazy to think about, like, if something would have just shifted to the left, we wouldn't have gotten into Target, we wouldn't have gotten the POs, and retail wouldn't have taken off for us.
So let's go back a moment. We know you raised money, and I want to talk about that a lot, actually. Did you raise prior to that, or did you raise for retail?
The reason that's a hard question to answer is because, like, we didn't really raise. We rose. We raised. We rose. Geese.
Yeah, I think it's geese. I think it's geese.
We
Gaggle of geese.
Gaggle of geese.
I think it's raised.
So we raised, when we think back to why we raised just to raise. Like, that's the brutal truth. We had been on a fundraise for probably 4 years before we actually raised. When we went out to market was probably at the end of 2018 when we said we're going to raise.
Okay.
And so, like, we didn't really raise for retail. I think there was something in the earlier part of your question, but yeah.
No, your answer. So it wasn't necessarily for retail. So your first raise was 2018.
No, that's the first time we went to market. For three-ish years, we got nothing but no's. And so here was the problem. All the brands that we talked about earlier that were going bankrupt,
yeah,
we could have any conversation. And I'm not saying this I am not better than anybody. I was fortunate enough to be a part of an epic journey where we found an extreme product market fit in a very niche industry where Facebook and everything lined up. I was in a very kind of fortunate circle of things that became true. And because of that, we could have any conversation with any venture capital. So, like, I could get through the door anywhere because the minute that I showed our revenue numbers, like, it was better than probably 99 out of 100 that were coming through their door at the time.
Yeah.
So we pitched everybody for 3 years. The problem is all the companies that we just talked about that were going bankrupt, that window closed. VCs were already kind of getting smart at that point where it's like, oh, maybe there's not 10x, 100x returns in the consumer space. And because a lot of their businesses were failing, they weren't really opening up their pockets. So they would take the conversation, but it was just 3 years of no's before we finally got to a yes.
Set a fire to your past, but don't panic or fret. Live Recover is here, they'll take care of the rest. No bots up in here, just real humans with trust. Whatever you did in the past, leave it back in the dust. Man, conversions are rising like your ROI. 6x your revenue, and that's not a lie. Sales team in your pocket, day and night, bringing in-store vibes to your site, that's right. Your abandoned cart is missing the human touch. Live Recover adds real people to your texts. Live agents who chat with customers in real time, driving higher conversions and sales recovery. Setup just takes 10 minutes. Connect, chat, and convert, just like that. Visit liverecover.com today and let them know Awesome sent you.
Okay, so you get that first. So you're attempting to raise the whole time because that's just in your head. That's the playbook, right? You just raise money.
That's what we do. That's what we do.
That's part of you build a business to raise money, then you sell it. So 2018 it happens. You land the money.
2021? No, 2018 they started.
2018 we started hundreds of conversations. The end of 2021.
2021 you actually raised money. So it's, I guess, coming towards the end of the pandemic.
Okay. So what changes at that point? You've now secured the funding.
Not a lot. So
with that look, I thought you were going to say a lot, but okay, not a lot. Okay.
No, because like even when we were going through the raise process, like things were not looking good. And there's a lot of reasons for this. So when we went from 25 million to 50 million in 2020, we didn't hire any additional teammates. Like we used the same amount, I think it was like 52-ish teammates. The same amount of teammates for 2020 or 2019 for 25 million is the same amount that got us through 2020. And that wasn't intentional. That's not like a genius play of like, oh, we're just going to figure out. No, it's because we were going through the pandemic. Everything was on fire at the time. And like, we're just trying to figure out what to do. And like, we just didn't have the capacity to hire in that environment. And what I kept promising the team is, listen, you pull through for us this year and like, we will take care of you and we will start hiring next year. And that's exactly what we did. The mistake we made was I was like, oh, we just went from 25 to 50. Our forecast over here says we're going to hit 100 million this year. So let's go higher to that 100 million. So if we actually needed 80 people to achieve the 50 million, but we stretched 50 people too thin, then like, let's get ahead of all this and just go hire everybody we need. And at our peak, we had over 100 employees. And if you counted like our contractors and other people, it was like 150. Like we had very much hired to become that $100 million company. And it never happened. And so in 2021, like iOS 14.5 hit. And that was a big thing for us. And I think that was 2021. And like that became incredibly cost prohibitive for us to advertise. At our peak, and Eric will vouch for this, we were spending over $150,000 a day in advertising. $150,000, right?
I knew you were spending six figures.
Yeah.
That's
like, talk about airline points. Man, if I could get some of that stuff back.
Are you back with Delta? I know you had that moment where you left them.
We should derail. We should. So Delta did me dirty. I went on deployment. That's probably a part of the story. Went on deployment, got back, and they've got this whole page for military members. So it took me 3 years to become Diamond. I was like, this is the good life. And they've got this whole page dedicated to military. If this, or this happens, send us and we'll give you your status right back. Got back from 10 months over in Asia or over in Africa and Europe, handed them my orders, and they said, nope, everybody's trying to get their status back post-pandemic, and we've said no to everybody. So I was like, screw you guys. So I went to United. It only took like 6 months and I went right back to Delta. So anyhow, I'm back at Delta. I'm still a little angry, but there's nothing better than Delta.
So let's go in. So off the go, you raise the money. Nothing really changes. You obviously made the commitment to the team and then followed through with it where we're going to hire the following year. So you scale up. Where does this fall in line timeline with your deployment? Because I remember you being like, yeah, I'm gone for 6 months.
This gets crazy. So what changed? We were deploying capital on Facebook almost at a break even to be able to get the cash that we needed to continue floating the company. I made the conscious decision that said, when we raised this money, it was about a $10 million round. We converted some debt into equity as well. And so I was like, the minute we do this, we're pulling back on all of our spends and we're getting back to a $40 customer acquisition cost. In 2021, we were probably spending about $30,000 to $40,000 a day. But like, we didn't realize how far that spend was going to come down in order to achieve that $30 to $40 customer acquisition cost. It was like an 85 to 90% reduction. So when you think about a company that's sitting at 155,000 active subscribers doing $48 million a year in direct consumer subscription sales, but is there because of spending anywhere from $60,000 to $150,000 a day, and now we can only effectively deploy $5,000 a day, that has pretty substantial impacts. And so to your other point, we raised money. We closed on it. It was like 2 days before Christmas in 2021. And I was like, we did it. We did it. Like we got there. We started making some changes very fast. We didn't understand the impact completely of those changes, but very quickly we started to get mean. We started to get everything where it needed to be. 10 days later, I get a phone call, and it's they call them the NRCs, the Navy Reserve Centers. I get a phone call from the NRC, and they're like, hey, you're deploying to Italy. They didn't know where it was at the time. You're deploying to Italy for 10 months. Pack your stuff. They give you 3 months of notice for involuntary mobilizations. So I had 3 months. But yeah, I had to call all the investors back a week after the wires cleared and said, I appreciate you guys believing in us. I appreciate you investing in me. I'm leaving for Europe and Africa for the next 10 months.
Wow. They weren't thrilled, huh? Yeah, that's a tough one, you know.
And it's filled to swallow.
Yeah, it's not like they, bought a coffee for you and you're like, hey, I'll be back. 10 million's quite a good amount of money.
And to be fair, yes, the business had some fundamentally awesome parts of it, but they were also investing in you.
Yeah.
It was you too.
And I know you have as well. Like, we've invested in companies and in things, and what we're investing is like an insane founder. Like, don't care about the product. Like, what I care about is like, you'll be able to find product market fit and then be able to scale it from there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a tough call.
Wow.
Okay, so now you're headed out. So obviously nothing's changed. You just took the money, but you're heading out in 3 months. And your team has to. I mean, I'm sure you're touching base, but the team has to, for the most part, run the business.
Yeah. So the first thing, so we ran on EO. There's two things that have changed my life completely. The first is Vistage, and obviously the amazing Creators Combine that we put together. And Creators Combine was really this mastermind that augmented my time in Vistage. Because if I went into the Vistage group, where it's like, 12 to 15 CEOs, all 60-year-old or older, and I went in and I was like, hey, my CAC doubled overnight. They'd be like, CAC? What? Like, so I needed like an augmentation of that mastermind. But the two things that changed my life were Vistage and EOS. And so before any of this actually happened, we had already implemented the entrepreneurial operating system. And so fundamentally, everybody inside of the organization was rowing in the same direction. Everybody understood the vision, the mission, where we were going in 10 years, 3, 1 year. Everybody understood their quarterly priorities. EOS changed my life. And so we were already operating on EOS. The problem is that I was sitting in the two seats on the accountability chart called the visionary and the integrator. And very quickly, we knew we needed to change something, because basically, like, I shouldn't have been, but I was the glue that was holding about 7 leaders that all in their respective core function areas. Like, I was the glue for that. And so we went and we fired up a recruiting agency. There's a lot of irony in this story, because we poached the chief financial officer, the CFO, from a company called What Do You Meme? Foreshadowing. And then we brought him onto the team. I made him kind of a pseudo integrator. And then, like, my communications and decision-making was really through him during the deployment.
Wow. Foreshadowing means you're going to talk about that later, right?
Yeah,
They bought us.
I think that might come up again.
Yeah. It's all right. So you're away in 2022. That whole 2022 year, you're with the elephants. You're probably not with the elephants, but you're in Africa, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's-
okay.
There's
Your
elephants in
delivery,
Africa.
like everything here is hilarious. Yes. So 2022, I left January, February, March, April. It was probably like April that I like started to ramp up. Left in June, got back. Left the country in June, got back the following February-ish was the timeline.
And
But yeah, like
did things really start to catch fire when you were away or when you returned?
here's the problem, and I don't know if you're going to show that clip, but it's at the beginning of the show where I talk about like someone comes up and punches you right in the junk each morning. Like, it's hard for me to sit here and tell you like where things were right and where things were wrong. Like, it is 7 years of just complete chaos. And like, I talked to Eric about this, and normally it was during the summertime. So every summer we would run this fire drill, and like we'd literally call it the fire drill. And we run this exercise called "What Will Kill Us Next?" because I'm a deep believer in some of the principles from the movie The Martian. And one thing that he talks about in The Martian is like, you solve one problem, you solve the next problem, and if you solve enough, you get to come home. And that's all business is. Business is the prioritization of problems, solving the right problems, the one that's going to kill you next, and then doing, because if you solve problem number 736, like there's 735 problems that can still kill you. And so every summer we would run this fire drill. That's a long-winded answer for like, there was not a point in that company where things weren't chaotic. And so like things weren't up, things weren't down, like things were just always sideways.
So okay, so you get back from deployment. What's the status of the business? Is it still nothing's really changed? Where are you at?
I think like one thing that our new CFO was able to do pretty effectively was look at things through a finance lens. Like, my biggest fear, to be brutal, like, and I left and there was, I don't know, maybe 4 million, maybe 4.5 million in the bank account, but we had liabilities out the ass. Like, there was just a whole bunch of stuff that like I knew needed to be dealt with. And to be completely honest, like I had no idea if I was going to come back to a company. I had no idea. Like that was kind of what I was thinking is like, I'm going to go on this deployment and there may or may not be a company when I get back. I think what our CFO did very well, who kind of played the integrator-ish role, bringing the teams together, is every decision that he made was through the lens of finance. Now, I will tell you, that is the wrong way to run a growing business. When you are growing, you have to take strategic risks. And when you start looking through a finance lens, when you need to be creative, it destroys everything. There's an example in my life right now, but like finance people should not run companies. However, if there is a company that is like struggling, it was perfect to have him in. And so like came back to a company that, as expected, because we were only spending $5,000 a day, was burning cash. And we were trying to figure out like what was going to be this magic lever that we could pull. Things were growing well. Like when we got on Target shelves, it was one SKU. It was called Death at the Dive Bar. That sold 250,000 copies in Q4. That was between Amazon and Target. I think Target sold 100,000 or 125. But like that did so well that Target that quarter was like, we're putting 2 SKUs next year. And so by the time I got back, Target already committed to 4 SKUs on their shelves. And like, so we had a growing retail business. And when you think about the game aisle, like how many boxes can you really have that all say Hunt a Killer? So we were excited about that. But what does retail do? It sucks out cash right out of the business. And so we had a capital intensive part of the business that was draining cash. And then we had a growth, like revenue generating direct consumer that we could control, that we couldn't deploy more than $5,000. So when I got back, we knew that we need to put it up for sale.
Wow. What was Target? Net 90 back then?
Ooh, a Target, oh no, Target is, okay, I can't poop on them. Target, I think, is like net 60. No, they might have been net 75. Walmart actually gave us the best terms and the best pricing, which blew my mind in all of this.
Wow.
Target was hard.
Yeah, you don't hear that often.
Yeah.
No.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So
I remember all the times I've seen it in Walmart and Target, and I take the picture and I text it to you, and I'm like, here you go.
I got it.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. They got some big things happening right now too. So that's exciting.
So it went up for sale. What? This is 2024 went up for sale?
Yeah, I got back June, February. Got back in February. Like collected my bearings for about 4 months. Kind of knew that was the direction. Put up for sale over the summer, and took us about 9 months to get through the process. Trying to think. Yeah. So like in that 4 months, we're cleaning up the finances, cleaning the books, like getting everything like prepped. Went to market over the summer. Like got down to probably the three, they call them like horses. Like we got down to the 3 horses in the race around fall, and then we closed in January.
Interesting. And the crew that gave you 10 million and you ran away, were they of all, any help during this process while you were away? Were they the right people for the money?
So there's a couple things here. There's 2 things that are interesting, and I feel like I'm going to answer this like a politician. The one thing that I'll say is, if you're going to go raise money, like it's not just about like the diligence. It's not even really about the money. It's about like, who are you bringing on your team? And so in retrospect, what I would do different is be incredibly selective over who I was going to take money from. And then here's the second hot take is like, venture capital doesn't belong in consumer. It just doesn't. Like if companies have to go out to like the only thing you need capital for is inventory. And that's been consistent for decades and decades and decades. So there are options out there to be able to increase your inventory, but only if you have the sales. Like if you are forcing your business to grow, you might be artificially creating demand for demand that doesn't even exist and doesn't exist for a reason. And you see that through churn. Like you push your spend, you bring a whole bunch of customers in, and they churn out the next month. And you're like, what happened? And it's like, well, they never should have been your customers, but spent $150,000 this day, so it was going to capture somebody.
Yeah.
So yeah, a little political on that one.
Yeah, I mean, you see it a lot too, especially on X and LinkedIn these days, right? All these newer CPG brands, especially in like the beverage category or your like consumable categories, right? Because obviously it's very inventory intensive in regards to like manufacturing and costs there. But like to your point, right? So we're in a situation where the loan element, right, going to get outside money, you can't really go to your traditional banks because we have a perishable product that's going to expire in X amount of months. So there's really no leverage to and any sort of ownership within the company in regards to the product itself. So you have to go Shopify has their services now. You can go third party. They're charging you 15-18%, whatever the going rate is today. But you see it all the time now on X and LinkedIn where, people try to twist it as like, oh, we're raising money, but it's only going to be for like people to help us with A, B, and C. It's like, no, you need money because you're not cash flowing based off of the growth that you want to hit and what you're spending, right? It's like you see it all the time now on X and LinkedIn, people just raising, but sort of like twisting it that they want the right people to be a part of the team.
100%.
So I think
100%.
I think though it's, and you both have touched on this. There's really, okay, you're building a software company. We can agree or disagree on the future of SaaS and with AI, how that's all going to shape out and shape up. But there's given the margins, given the playbook, raising money it makes sense a lot of times, right? Especially with what the multipliers and the valuations and the people that buy them and what their market cap is worth, or the PE company that could scoop it up and can put it in a portfolio. So all of a sudden it's worth X amount more overnight. All of that makes sense. On the consumer side, yeah, we hear the story of Poppy, right? But the story of Dr. Squatch. It happens. It occurs. But it's not even close to the unicorn occurrence that happens in SaaS. Like it is the exception.
It's like a 3-legged unicorn.
Yeah.
You have
5.
Yeah,
5.
Yeah. The only reason I know what they look like, my daughter drew a unicorn last week, 3 legs. I go, where's the 4th leg? She goes, it's there. Wasn't there. So yeah, I get you.
I don't think it makes sense for the vast majority of consumer brands to raise, because that payday isn't there for investors.
you've got it, like, and that's kind of the point, right? There has to be a reason. Like, I would argue that gone are the days of the Blender sunglasses and the Dollar Shave Clubs where you're going to have $1 billion or in Blender's case, $100 million return. Like, they were getting multiples on their revenue. Like, the industry has changed since then. And so when you think about it from let me just put myself in a VC's shoes. And so, like, I won't even make the argument for consumer, which if you're going to raise, it should be for something very specific, can open doors. Bryan, you guys are struggling to raise debt because you have a high, spoilage rate and have to get it just right. And there's nothing to really lend against from an asset standpoint. There are maybe you want to do an acquisition. Like, there are times and places to raise. When you think about venture capital makes 100 bets because they're going to get 1 or 2 1000x returns. And so they're going to have 1 or 2 1000x returns. They're going to have a couple others that do fairly well. And then they're going to have 80 losers in that. And like that model, there's no such thing as like that SaaS multiplier on the consumer side. So it's dumb for venture, and I'd argue it's dumb for consumer operators. But Bryan, what you said makes sense. And there's certainly times and places. I don't think that's venture capital. It's probably private equity or some mezz debt.
Yeah, no, totally. And I know like this is it's a question that, I mean, John can ask it, but I think everyone always asks, like, what would you do differently? I like asking, and by me saying I like asking, it's the first time I've ever asked that in an interview, but it sounds good in my head. So, instead of what would you do differently, what's one thing that went really well that you didn't do enough of? Because I think a lot of the times when things go well, we move on to something else because we know that succeeded, instead of like tripling down on it for a longer period of time or expanding what went well in more depth. So was there something that went really well that you sort of let go by the wayside or didn't double down enough on?
Yes. And John's already done this, and just by force of nature and force of like the advertising platforms he could not get kicked off of based upon some of the stuff that's in the box. It's diversify. And like, that's the thing is, when I used to sit in Vistage groups, there's this notion of like customer concentration, and they're constantly talking about this of like, don't be too concentrated in a single client. Well, when I heard that, I was like, I got 150,000 customers. I'm not concentrated on anything. That's not it. Like, folks should take a deep, hard look across their enterprise to see where 80% of reliance is on a certain thing. So for instance, for us, 90% of our revenues were based on direct consumer. Out of that, 85% of the revenue that was direct consumer was Facebook advertising. And so, like, to your point, like, one thing that I think we did well was we leaned into diversification. I think we did it a little bit too late. We probably could have gotten on Target shelves earlier. And I think we should have doubled down in that area. Like, we got through big box, and there's so many other things that you can get involved with. And John's doing the live selling now, and I think that's really cool. But like, diversification.
So you gave the little teaser of foreshadowing, but I guess let's close the loop on that.
Yeah. What do you mean there, John?
I don't have a mustache to do that. You guys can do it for me.
You look amazing,
Robin. If you wanna bring it to a close.
Yeah. Who bought the joint?
Yeah. She's so aggressive here, Bryan.
So impressive.
What Do You Meme eventually acquired us. It's they're now known as Relatable, and I think Relatable's done a really good job on a lot of different things. But one thing that they've done is they've kind of pulled back up into this mothership. So if you don't know, What Do You Meme was a company that was kind of rolled out of an existing audience, and so the audience was something called. Can we curse on this podcast?
Yeah.
We'll just beep it out.
Okay, so it's a community or an audience from something called Fuckberry, which is like this humor content distribution. That's the three amigos, the three guys, the three founders, and they were like, what high margin product can we roll in? So they developed this game called What Do You Meme, which was a simple card game, but they had a massive audience and massive distribution channel. And what they've done incredibly well is like they've just continued to diversify. And so like they're into like plush toys, they're into games, they're into toys, like they've got this like anyhow, long-winded. They eventually acquired us. It was last January, and it was good. It was a good close to a chapter, which I'm excited about now.
So you guys had poached their CFO to come and be the integrator while you were away.
Yeah.
Is he still with them? Did they forgive him? Did they get him back and say, you? Like, what happened?
You were the plant all along.
Yeah.
No, we parted ways during that 4 months when I got back from deployment. So he wasn't even there for the acquisition.
Okay.
Wow. That sounds so nice when you say it like that. They parted
You said that in
ways.
such a nice way. Like, yeah, he came back and just parted ways.
We just decided that, together mutually, that maybe it wasn't the best fit to go to market and try and get the company sold. So that was it. So there was no full circle on that one, but definitely a full circle for like the brand and that connection. My co-founder's still there. So Derek's
Okay.
I am like I definitely have ADD. There's like I have 1,000 ideas, and I could not work at an organization. I have to force myself to do it in the Navy, and I do that for like to give back because the Navy had a huge impact in my life.
Now you're out of the game. You mentioned before, I think during the banter, you're sleeping better than ever. So you're out of the brain game, and you're doing something. Talent Harbor, which when I saw this released, when you made the announcement, I was like, oh, like probably Harbor. Navy, like you're creating talent and you're gathering talent and connecting the seas, and the harbor is where the people leave the sea.
It's where they are,
and the company's a vessel.
Company
Is that sort of the mindset behind Talent Harbor?
Have I ever said that to you before? The company is the vessel or the company is the vehicle?
No, to be honest,
you?
I plugged it into ChatGPT earlier, and that's all I could remember from when I plugged it in. I said, hey, why do you think this guy named Talent Harbor? And I plugged in your LinkedIn URL, and it like gave all these Navy things, and I'm like, I'm going to ask him.
That's hilarious. It picked up some interesting, because I talk about this a lot just from like an entrepreneurship standpoint. They're like, businesses are vehicles, businesses are vessels. Businesses should not be your identity. Like, no one starts a business to say, I want to work for the rest of my life. Usually they start a business because there's something that they want to achieve, and that is disassociated from solving hard problems in a business. And so anyhow, I always talk about business as a vehicle. How do we go from like murder mysteries into recruiting? We had my Vista chair came to me and he was like, hey kid, you're not going to be able to sit still. Go pick your favorite line item. Go do that for a while. For me, it was people, the investment, the growth, the coaching, the mentoring, everything people. We spent about $1 million in recruiting at Hunt to Killer.
Wow.
And this whole notion of like, you have to spend $30,000, $50,000, $90,000 depending upon per hire to have a search firm go do this. The stupidest thing that I've ever heard. So anyhow, we started a subscription program and we called it Recruiting as a Service, and it's a flat monthly fee. There's no success fees. And we just do really great work for really great clients. But yeah, man, having a lot of fun being able to sleep over there. And then have been weirdly rolling out business operating systems for just people that are kind of I like to stay kind of like, in tune, plugged in. So
you were down in Texas visiting Scott, I think, for it, right?
Yeah. We did a lot of great work. Scott is on the cusp of really big things. Yeah.
It's been exciting watching from when the two of us started conversing with him and the size and what they were doing to it's just.
This is I Am a Chef too?
Yeah.
Yeah. I won't give I'll have him give you kind of some of the background and details if he's comfortable going in. But I will say the one thing that's incredible is they had a big hiccup last year and they've recovered from that 15 to 20x. It's mind blowing what they've been able to do. They've got these crazy licenses with Disney, which is public information, so I'm not giving anything out. And yeah, because I always get weird. When people are investing heavily into infrastructure, that's usually a red flag. I'm usually you never build infrastructure before the demand's actually there, because that's the fastest way to go bankrupt. And Scott did it. He built a crap ton of infrastructure, and it's catching up, and it's really cool to see the things he's got going on.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Ryan, thanks again. This was fun. This was enjoyable.
Yes.
We're just at the hour mark. So that means we got to stop. Just
Okay.
Yeah. No, look, we love you, right? We love you.
I mean,
Love
thanks
ya.
for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah.
This is awesome.
Not the wrap up you expected here, but I will say that no, Ryan is an amazing human being. He's a good follow on LinkedIn too. Like I said before, he founded Hunt to Killer after 3 failures, and then sold Hunt to Killer, and now he has a Talon Harbor named after the vessels and the Navy stuff. So go check Ryan out. Great follow on LinkedIn and a really good friend of ours over at the ASOM Pod. So really appreciate Ryan. In all seriousness, I like to joke around a lot, but you're a good dude. You've done a lot for us. I know that. And hopefully we can keep your dog around for another decade or so.
When do we?
It's awesome.
San Diego Commerce Roundtable. Are you going to come up for that? You think September?
Yeah, I'll come down for it. When is it? September?
Yeah, come down. Oh yeah, come down because you're out. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll jump on a train. Brian just tried to sign us out, and now we've just completely trashed the sign off. Hey, Brian, thank you so much for having me. I just really appreciate. Just kidding. Yeah, I'll definitely see you guys down at
which is, by the way, this should air before that. So Commerce Roundtable. I don't know if there's going to be any tickets left, but commerceroundtable.com. September 22nd and the 23rd. Gary V is going to be the headliner, opening up the show. Gary V, it's going to be an absolute blast. I know, and Jimmy went nuts too this year. I don't know if we can disclose a lot of what he is doing on the front of food, but
palm
the
trees?
Food this year is going to be remarkable. I can tell you that much.
Did he get the palm trees again?
No.
But yeah, no. But
You
the
know
palm
why?
tree budget
No.
got moved.
Yeah, there should have been a palm tree budget.
There was a palm tree budget last year for sure. There was. Yeah.
We'll move.
Is it weird we know he's listening right now but can't talk? Like he's listening to all of. Oh God, he's coming.
All right, guys. Ryan, thanks again,
Later.
man.
Welcome to the ASOM Pod, where we talked a lot. E-com was the path that we walked a lot. But now the question is, will you subscribe or not? Ha!